I spent 45 hours building in MrBeast's $50,000 build competition. In 1 week, I made a massive castle with a merch store, an entire museum, a beast burger, and so much more. You're not gonna believe how this ends. This can't be real. All of this started when I got a Discord notification from the MrBeast gaming server saying there was actually a building competition open to all 700,000 server members. I immediately put all my projects and fundamental parts of my life to the side, deciding that I was going to throw away a whole week of my life for a chance at the $50,000 grand prize. After joining one of thousands of worlds, I was greeted with a tiny 75 by 75 block plot, and worst of all, there was absolutely no world edit. Before I placed a single block, I broke out my sketchbook and tried to wrap my brain around some basic concepts that would ultimately become the main structure of the build. I then converted my sketches onto the plot, forming a rough outline of where all the towers and platforms would be located. Building like this would save me time because I could see the fundamental shapes without fully committing to filling in whole walls by hand until I needed to. But in the end, I was going to have to place hundreds of thousands of blocks, which inevitably led to me having to put band-aids on my ring and middle finger to keep up with the pace and remain on schedule. After making the base, I quickly moved on to building the lower structures of the castle, thanking myself for designing the build in a symmetrical fashion, as I was able to complete both sides of the section with relative ease. At about this point in the competition, my sanity was definitely starting to wash down the drain. My reality, as I knew it, was being absolutely lost. My new reality was this competition and the fantasy of winning the $50,000 grand prize. Of course, spending 6 to 7 hours at a time building was definitely not helping my mental state at all. During some of these build sessions, which would last sometimes 4 hours straight, I never really took a step back, telling myself that I simply didn't have enough time to. As I started to approach the top front of the building, adding a few more towers and terraces, I began to realize just how much my build towered over every other plot in my vicinity. Being motivated by the sheer size of my project, I finished the sides of the castle, designing my first asymmetrical features, including larger side entrances upon terraces, a smaller bridge, and even a chapel-like structure. I pushed on to the backside of the castle where I created a large set of vertical windows supported by thin archways, even creating the MrBeast logo on top. Eventually, these windows would serve as a great source of light for a special part of this build that I haven't even revealed to you guys yet. Reaching the summit of the castle, I crowned the structure with a cathedral and an intricate tower that reached world height. And what better place to put MrBeast's merch shop other than the absolute heights of Minecraft? I filled the inside of the cathedral with tall, dark pillars that were lined with armor stands representing actual colored clothes on the Shop MrBeast website. I even included the Beast logo in the form of a rug, and of course MrBeast himself preaching at the end of the cathedral to buy the merch. After the merch shop was complete, I moved down a level to begin work on the most intricate part of the entire build. Lining the walls with, yet again, pillars being even taller than last time, and placing the big cat logo itself overlooking the hall, this was going to be a detailed museum of MrBeast and his channels. To appeal to the judges, I created statues of animals they were associated with on the gaming channel, like Chandler's ostrich, and a timeline of the main channel showing all of the biggest videos. Adding these extremely small details in the museum, like Bruh Meme and Carl running to get ice cream for his friends mid-competition, was all in an effort to truly stand out with detail and complexity compared to other small builds that did not make any references to MrBeast's channels. And finally, in the third and lowest hall, behind that giant glass window that we talked about, is SpongeBob's house. After watching numerous build competitions on the gaming channel and seeing how much Chris and Carl loved these builds, I couldn't just leave it out. To be as thorough as possible, knowing that everyone on the MrBeast judging team hated it when builders did not include an interior, I fully furnished SpongeBob's house, adding a living room and a bedroom fit with the absolute legend himself, Gary the Snail. You might be wondering where the Beast Burger fits into all of this. I actually ended up placing it just to the right of SpongeBob's house, last minute for the judges to find when checking things out. To add a little more flair to the exterior and finish the build off with a bang, I added a dragon breathing fire onto the Shop MrBeast cathedral, just below world height in the contest's final hours. I made sure, just like everything else in the build so far, the dragon's colors were the same as the big cat that is MrBeast's logo, making the dragon skin a turquoise and its fire a hot pink. With the build finally finished and entered into the competition, I had some spare time on my hands awaiting the results of prejudging for the video. This meant I was actually able to download the schematics of my build and move it into a single player world where I could give it the space it deserved. In such a wide open world, this would emphasize its massive scale and its towering heights over a super flat biome. I created a single solitary peak for the castle to sit on, as well as some small mountains and rolling plains, which would soon be accompanied by vibrantly colored fields. Now what I'm talking about is how I slowly started to develop a MrBeast themed flowering cherry blossom forest. Lying within these beautiful fields of colorful shrubs, the custom biome holds a hidden feature I'll reveal at the end of this time lapse, so make sure you stay tuned. After designing these bonsai style trees, I placed the largest of them on top of the biggest mountains I'd created and the smaller cherry blossoms below, forming a thin forest. To make these trees come to life, I also added floating glass to the right side of the trees, giving the impression that the petals were blowing away in the wind. And with the final touches finished, that's the build complete. Now you might be wondering what that hidden feature was that I mentioned a few moments ago. It's actually the fact that this biome glows in the dark. I wanted to make this forest and the overall build come to life when the sun went down, so I made the cherry blossoms glow as they got blown away in the wind. I have to say, I absolutely love this effect. And don't forget, we still have to see my build's results in the competition after this epic cinematic. And after all that hard work, the constant building, my bruised little fingers, and a whole week now behind me, everything came down to this moment. Would I be added to the private Discord server where the competition would be held? The short answer is no. I got just as much out of this as the guy next to me who wrote how he wanted a new graphics card and put no effort in whatsoever. Yeah, so this is for sure a bit of a cold, hard slap to the face from reality. I definitely thought that the build was going to get some kind of recognition on the server, and in a naive way, I would be able to talk to Jimmy himself. But with all that said, let's at least see what the other players built in MrBeast's video.
Okay, I can already tell some of this stuff is gonna be insane.
Wait, that was my build right there.
There it is. Oh, let's go. my build made it in the video for a solid 48 frames. There it is, for just a few seconds. And of course they zoom in on the smallest thing instead of showing mine, of course. I can't believe they just skipped past my build. It's so sad. That gave me hope for a second. Okay, stuff like this. Like, I would never think about doing this. It's just so weird. How is this even possible? How do you do this in a week? I mean, like, you can just tell, look at all the detail absolutely everywhere. Constant references. Man did his research. I stood absolutely no chance against some of these. Oh my god. Of course.
Yeah? You just won $50,000.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's nice.
Okay. That's nice.
And that's the story of how I spent 45 hours building in MrBeast's $50,000 build competition. I'll see you in the next video.